Good evening, everybody. Tried to go live a little bit earlier, and my internet connection is very slow, so there's a good chance that you'll be seeing this sometime tomorrow. I do apologize for that. I'm at about 5 megabytes per second, and it is slow. Very, very slow. Anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and record what we were going to do live, and if you've got questions, feel free to tag me in the comments, and I'll swing over and answer them. But for those of you just joining, I'm Nick with Hostile Hair. We are at the Hostile Homestead. It's so hostile that I've got a glass bottle full of rabbit poop on my counter. So don't come over for dinner. Or at least don't mix this up with the pepper grinder, because that would be awkward. Anyway, so what we're doing, we're going to talk alternative fuels. I don't normally have a bottle of poop on my counter. But we're going to go ahead and do that today because it's really freaking hot outside. And yeah, I don't really want to barbecue myself. So, moving right along. What am I doing here? Well, I got into rabbits for the alternative fuel. I knew that I could eat the rabbits. That wasn't really my goal when I first started. It was kind of my fallback to my secondary excuse for having rabbits. But what I wanted to do was organize unorganized biomass. I was playing with gasification, which is basically you extract hydrocarbons from biomass by lighting a little bit of it on fire and causing dehydration and pyrolysis or thermal breakdown of the matter inside of a specific gasification chamber. That merits further investigation. Please look it up. There's plenty of YouTube channels out there that talk about gasification. A lot of fun. It's old tech. It's 1880s technology, and they've been using it for a long time. In fact, the coal companies use gasification to reburn the gases that come off of the coal, so it goes through their turbines multiple times before it's ever pulled out of the plant. Anyway, so we're not doing gasification this time. We are actually going to talk about anaerobic digestion, which is fancy for rotting without oxygen. So there are, excuse me, there are certain bacteria that when you starve them of oxygen, they will start producing methane. And that's a good thing, because methane, even though it's what's destroying our environment from the cow burps and farts and all these things are really bad, methane's really awesome out on the farm if you can control it. So what we're going to do is build a very small anaerobic digester right here in my kitchen. So Mike D, my famous bunny rabbit, has been providing me with nice ample supply of poop. Some of this is very dry because it's been outside collected in 120 degree weather. And then there's a little bit on top that still has a lot of bacteria in it because it was fresh from today. So yes, I'm that crazy. Yes, I'm playing with rabbit poop in my kitchen. I don't know if any of you know who I am prior to this, but I was on a TV show called Doomsday Preppers. Total legitimate organization that teaches you how to be prepared for the doomsday. I'm kidding, that's sarcasm. It was actually a very misleading episode. But in that episode, I built a flamethrower that ran on rabbit poop. And the story behind it was an alternative fuels project that they had me weaponize for TV. And they made me look absolutely insane doing it. So I don't know if it revealed my true character or was it an absolute lie. One of the two. So anyway, in that show, we showed off kind of an inverted 30-gallon drum that was submerged upside down in a 55-gallon drum that was full of rabbit manure and water mixed together. So all the happy little bacteria were just chowing away on all the rabbit manure, and over time, since there was no oxygen, it would release methane, and that inner drum, that 30-gallon drum, would come up out of the water of the 55-gallon drum, and all of that air, or that space in there, was methane. And then we bled it off by just pushing down, and there was a tube coming out of the top that we lit on fire, and we just kind of blow a little bit of propane, or not propane, methane out of it. Similar to propane, just not under as much pressure. So anyway, we're going to do that here, but we're going to do it a little smaller than 55 gallons because I don't think that my girlfriend would like me wheeling in 55 pounds or 55 gallons of wet rabbit manure into her kitchen. So she wasn't really happy with this one either. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and move right along. I've never done this on this scale, so we're going to learn together. It's good to have a plan. My plan is to drill a hole in the top of this lid, secure this line into it, and make sure that it is submerged in water so that as it's producing methane, it's going to push the water out of the tube and into this secondary tube here, which is what we'll be using for harvesting the methane. Now, as this one fills up with methane gas, it will force the water out of another tube into the overflow. So, in theory, this should be a relatively clean, not a smelly mess experiment. So, time will tell. So, this is the first installment of this. So, before we get started, I should explain this is 5/16 OD, or outside diameter tubing. It's got a little bit of squish to it. It's a rubber kind of it's a vinyl tube. So you want it to be kind of squishy. You don't want hard black tubing, the stuff that you would use for irrigation. I wouldn't use that in this setting unless you've got a fitting that can go on the inside of this. Since I don't have a fitting and we're just drilling it in, we're going to go with the squishy stuff. So basically, I'm going to drill a hole with this 1/4-inch drill bit into the top of this cap and then force the 5/16 line into the cap. And what that should do is allow the 5/16 line to expand and seat the hole that I drill. So pitter patter, let's get at her. Relatively easy. Now normally I would tell you to take the cap off of the glass because you don't want to hit the glass and shatter it. But my alternative is drilling into the countertop. And as much as I love you guys, I really don't want to sacrifice my countertop for this experiment. So let's just take a nice healthy 18 inches or so. This doesn't have to be exact. We're not scientists here. All right. That's probably about a foot actually. For fun, I'm going to cut this at an angle. Not just for fun, but for function. What that does is it makes a nice skinny port for me to, or a skinny entrance that I can slide into this this hole that we just drilled. And yeah, we're gonna have to pull the cap off. All right, so fun fact, Voss, you're probably asking, why does this redneck out in from the backwoods of Wisconsin buying Voss water? Let me tell you, you ever tried to buy a glass water bottle? They're like $6 to $10 for a glass water bottle. Voss is $3 a piece. Now, I obviously bought them knowing that I would use the water bottle. That's why I got it. So we're gonna go like so. Excuse me for a second. All right, so now we're back. Oh, please don't break. Another trick, you can use a lighter to heat up the vinyl tube, and that will allow it to become a little bit more pliable. Oh. This works really well into like hard plastic bucket. And it's coming in, you can kind of see, we'll do a zoom in here. This is what we're trying to accomplish. You can kind of, you can see it's coming in a little. So once it comes in a little bit more, I'm going to take one of these T's and stick it into the end of it, and that'll keep it from coming back out. Okay. Now that we're not live, I could probably edit all of this out, but then you wouldn't get to experience how much fun I'm having. All right, we're gonna forego the T because it's too close to the threads, so that's not gonna work. So this guy goes back on like so for now, and we're gonna do the same thing into this bottle here. I just realized I made a boo-boo. Needed to make that a little bit longer. So all that nice hard work for nothing. That's okay. It was fun to do. So let's go ahead and cut our angle. So what I did wrong, I had not enough to go down into, I want this tube to be long enough to come out the top of this bottle and go all the way down to the bottom of this one. That will allow us the maximum amount of space inside of our methane harvesting tube. Because basically when the water runs out in this tube, you can't harvest any more methane. It'll just go right out of the top tube and away, if that makes sense. So we're going to do that all again. For those of you that didn't catch the first one, all right, and there is a white cap on the inside of the lid that's sealed so that somebody doesn't put rabbit poop in your water. I'm sure that's what they had in mind when they made those seals. Ooh. Just about there. This poor lid. Oh, what are you doing to me? I was supposed to be popped off by some rich dude and drank and enjoyed. Oh no, poor little Voss water bottle, here used for diabolical plans. Okay, so now that we've got the lid off, let's go ahead and get gross. We're going to, you know what? I take that back. We're not doing that just yet. Let me finish making it first, because if I screw this up, I want to be able to not have a bunch of wet rabbit poop on my counter. All right, so super scientific way of measuring. Just kind of give it a nice loop, run it down to the bottom, and then add another inch or so. Okay. So now we drill a hole in the top of this one. Again, for safety reasons, you probably shouldn't have it in your hand to do, but I'm a trained redneck. I can do these things. All right, so this one, we're going to egg out just a touch more. I've got to pull a lot more tube through it. Now, do that. Got a nice line there. I'm going to take the burrs off of the hole that you just drilled. Okay. Ooh. Oh my gosh, I need to go to the gym. Whew. Or spend more time building things like this, because my traps are not built for this. Oh my gosh. love sweating on camera. Oh, not even there. Alright, so I'm having a good time. Oh, luckily the vinyl stretches a little bit, so as you pull it, it pulls in a little easier. Okay, so that's good. So that just goes back down and in like so. Like that. Doesn't that look cool and professional? Like really heavy nunchucks. Speaking of professional. So you have to do one more from this one into the overflow. And no, it's going to have to be a longer one. So we'll do super high-tech measuring again. About there. Maybe 3 feet. Yep. 3 feet long. Not everybody will know this, but 6 feet from fingertip to fingertip. So I know 3 feet right to the sternum. Doesn't that sound cool? Don't you wish you could measure yourself like me? I can literally hear you guys shutting off the video right now. Super exciting stuff. Okay, so we're going to put another hole in the top of this one. It's incredibly violent. Okay. So this has got to go down to the bottom of this one and to the bottom of this one. Well, not necessarily to the bottom, but you get the idea. It should go a good ways down. You know, I probably could have invested in like some Vaseline or something to make this a little easier. Oh, see, that's why you don't fill it full of poop or full of water. We're going to go ahead and disconnect this guy. Set it up front. So. All right. Ladies, this is how you break a nail. Oh, my goodness, that is really tight hole. Good night. Actually, now that I think about it, the top one, the one that goes into the poop, does not have to be, so we can go just like this. This is just an overflow, so it can go down into the bottom. So that's down to the bottom. That comes out this tube here. And this guy just has to go into the top. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the water. Now I guess it should be a little bit further down. To start anyways, because we have to make sure there's no air in the lines, because if you have oxygen alongside of fuel, that's how you make explosives. And we're doing alternative fuels here, not alternative IEDs. So, all of you hoping for Boogaloo information, you are at the wrong place. Because we are fueling things, not blowing things up. Okay, so that's down a little bit more. Good. And nice and tight. Now, we'll do this one a little longer than it needs to be, but pretty good. Now, I already drilled one hole. This can go into this one here. Still a little bit too steep. There we go. So what we're doing, same thing we've done basically for all the other ones, but this will be the supply of methane into the methane harvester over here. Oh. All right.